Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the video today. This game's called Selene. I don't think it's in English. I'm going to see if I can set it to that, but it probably isn't. It kind of caught my eye because it's somewhat horror themed, I think. So that seemed interesting to me. We're going to go ahead and jump into this game and play it. Remember, if you're liking the video, go ahead and smack that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this game. So hopefully there's a lot of voice acting because, my voice acting is terrible. The sound was driving him crazy. Monotonous muffled thuds were resonating throughout his head with dull pain. The pain wasn't too strong, nothing unbearable, but that sound. More than anything else, he wanted this sound to just stop. Thud. Nevertheless, the knocking sounds didn't end. He knew it well enough because he himself was their origin. Thud. 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 The nose of his soft home moccasin was hitting the rear of his desk over and over again, like a huge fluffy moth frantically ramming against the window glass. Actually, he wanted plenty of things. He wanted to pay the rent in time this month, not to displease his landlady again. He wanted to finish the script, at least in draft, because the draft is at least something one can work with. And he wanted to sleep. No, not like that. The problem, a serious one, was that he didn't really want to sleep. He leaned back in his chair and rubbed his shut eyes, pressing his eyeballs until dancing pale lights appeared. Of course, he took the sleeping pills. When a healthy 8-hour sleep gives way to a not-so-healthy 5-hour sleep, then 3-hour one, and then goes away entirely, you stop thinking how this will impact your liver. You just want to sleep. You need to sleep, especially if you have already taken an advance payment for the first part of a gig, and the goddamn text just won't write itself. However, if the text could, in fact, write itself somehow, he would probably lose his job. He didn't have any illusions in this regard. As soon as neutral networks get smart enough, he and dozens of other ghostwriters will vanish into morning mist of a new era in literature. He didn't have much of a name or connections, only some skill and a knack to meet the deadlines for the most part. The client was content with this, and he was content with the pay, so everything went well until the pills started failing him. Blam. This time, the tic got too strong. His foot jerked and hit the board with a very notable pain. Seemed like he even heard his toes crack. He muttered a short curse and rolled the chair away from the desk, although he knew, now that his attention was not trained on a blank text file, the tic should go away all by itself. It's funny how the consciousness is detached from the body. He often thought about it, especially while having insomnia. It's like you're working as a team, but your partner starts pulling something. You seem to have common goals, but when all hell breaks loose, you are suddenly left alone with it, and your partner is more interested in watching the fire than fighting it. In the end, you have no idea what's on his mind. Well, at least there won't be any more knocking. Good. A small window at the far side of the room flashed white for a moment. A storm? Now that he thought about it, the day was hot, and viscous, stagnant air filled the room. This, and the barely audible squeak of an overheated network filter, he became sensitive to such things when he could not sleep for a long time, made the entire room seem to vibrate a little. Like a cocoon that's about to hatch. Actually, this sounds like a good line. He rolled back to the table and was about to write that thought down, but paused over the keyboard. He remembered the individual words and the general idea, but the sentence had already slipped away. This time the white light seemed to fill the entire room. Then a thunder followed, resembling a low gut roar of something large and famished. Good Lord. He called to God way too often for someone who never goes to church, but a habit he inherited from his mother. A furious patter of raindrops pounded on his window. There's no way he could work like this. Not now. But maybe it's for the best. Since he was a little boy, he slept well during the storms. Had to seize the moment. He groped for a jar of sleeping pills. Always good to have your working tools at hand. Popped the pills into his mouth and opened the window to hear the steady patter of the rain. Then he went to bed and collapsed on top of the bed sheets, his clothes still on. He could tell by the sound that the water had flooded the windowsill and was trickling down on the floor. He decided that was a small price to pay. He felt a pleasant chill of cloth beneath his cheek. The wavering haze was gradually fading from the room. Yet the sleep did not come. He tried to take off his shoes, changing position, take a pillow, cover himself, throw the pillow away to the other side of the room. Nothing helped. He just laid there with his eyes closed, and though his eyelids felt heavy, he knew it was an illusion. All in vain. He's not sleeping. He can't sleep. Thud. At first he thought he was imagining things. Thud. 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 Sometimes the knocking paused, but it never stopped completely. The sound came from below, from the first floor. Someone was banging incessantly on the door. And with each thud, he could feel the rage building up like a tight knot of pain around his stomach. He is trying to sleep. Is it really that hard to just leave a man alone? At least at night. At least in the house that he pays for. Specifically so that nobody would bother him. He opens his eyes. Easy. Just as he thought. Sprang to his feet and ran down the stairs. Something was boiling inside of him. Halfway to the door, he took a turn to the cupboard and pulled out an old baseball bat. He wasn't likely to actually use it. He asked himself if he would, as he reached for the door handle. No, he certainly wouldn't. But he's angry, and he wants the night guest to learn it. What the hell? The rain was still pouring, or rather it was actually getting stronger. As his mother would say, and the floodgates of heaven tore open. His mother used to say a lot of things. That was on the list of reasons why he had to overpay for a separate house where anyone could start banging the door in the middle of the night. A cat, for example. What the hell? He said it again, this time aloud. The cat was standing on his porch. She looked like a purebred British Shorthair in all respects, except for the color. Aside from the smoky gray head, she looked as if she was dropped into a vat of white paint, and then the lower part was dipped into black one. I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, but this isn't a cat at all. This is a girl. Okay, well, we'll continue going. We'll see what's happening here. Wet fur clung to her small, rather skinny body, dripping with water. The cat could have probably slipped into the house as soon as the door opened, but instead she froze, as if waiting for the host to say something. Well, we'll let her in. That is obviously not a cat. I mean, it's a cat girl, I guess. She's got the cat ears, and apparently there does seem to be a tail. It was cold outside, much colder than one might think. He didn't feel angry anymore. All right, come in. He stepped aside, framed the doorway. The cat didn't move. What, you don't want to? He was about to say, fine then. Close the door, go back to the second floor, and lie in a suffocating half-sleep until morning, but he finally realized what was wrong. The bat. He threw it on the sofa, but missed. The bat clattered on the floor. The cat followed into the darkness with her round yellow eyes. The sound didn't frighten her. He sighed. I won't hurt you. Come in if you want. The cat rose her eyes at him. For the first time, he actually saw, and couldn't help admiring, how big and yellow they were. The cat's pupils were also large and incredibly round, like 2 full moons in an eclipse. Just as he was about to close the door for the second time, the cat murmured something and fluttered into the house, butting him with her wet head as she passed by. He smiled. Strictly speaking, at this very moment, his line had ended. If the landlady found out, and he was sure she would, he'd have to look for a new place to live. There are too many lonely, bored seniors in the neighborhood who have only 2 pastimes, observing and reporting, and it doesn't really matter what or to whom. Well, it's fine. Maybe he'd leave the suburbs. Maybe he'd move to an apartment, since him getting privacy didn't work out anyway. The rain was getting stronger. He closed the door. The cat explored the house with cautious curiosity, stopping by different objects as if trying to understand their purpose. Watching it was amusing, so amusing that he even forgot about the stain. When he remembered, it had already spread out, a dark spot of water in the place where the cat clung to him. He pulled the wet cloth away from his body and stared at it blankly for a moment, then almost groaned aloud. The cat was soaked, so she probably got a lot of dirt in the house. He decided not to turn on the light. He had enough disappointment for the night. Instead, he went to get a towel. "All right, come here." The cat turned her head to the voice and froze in place. She was examining the TV, the lifeless black mirror of a plasma panel in a lacquer frame that he didn't even touch since moving in. In the reflection, the cat herself looked black. She gave him a long, appraising look, and then, with a sudden eagerness, trotted towards him, deftly avoiding the obstacles. He was surprised. Maybe the cat decided that he was more interesting than the TV, or maybe she still respected the host's will. Anyway, he felt grateful. Finally, someone he can actually negotiate with. Suddenly, he thought how nice it would be to crawl under the blanket with a warm ball of fur. It would surely have helped him to fall asleep. As a child, he had a cat, gray, huge, brash, immensely ugly, and equally beloved. He often fell asleep hugging him. The cat's name was Timo, and he faded into a June night many years ago. The cat bumped her wet head against him once more. He thought that cats usually shake off the water themselves. Usually, but perhaps not always. "Hey, easy there, you're all wet." The cat looked up at him with her moon-shaped eyes and murmured something again. "Do something about it, then." Oh, that's what the cat must have been thinking or saying with her gesture, I guess. He smiled and got to work. He had to squeeze the fur thoroughly, so the towel soon turned into a wet rag. Should he bathe the cat? It doesn't matter. Well, we could bathe the cat, I suppose. Right? "That won't do. I'll give you a bath." Now, you know cats don't like baths, though. As he carried her to the bathroom, the cat stayed still in his arms, a warm and incredibly light body pressed against his chest. He was expecting the cat to bring out the claws any moment. Maybe as he opens the door. Now? Or as he turns on the light. Maybe this time. Still nothing. The cat glanced around the new room and looked at him again with her intelligent, almost human-like gaze. Not a single muscle in her small body moved. She was curious, and that's about it. She trusts me. He was about to ask her if she knows where they were and what was going to happen next, but that was just too much. So, it shouldn't be very difficult. The 2 of us can manage this. What do you think? He read somewhere that a cat should get used to the new surroundings before bathing. Fear is born out of the unknown, and in that regard, people haven't gone too far from cats. New scents, unfamiliar objects, and the splashing of water. These are just shadows under the bed that will fall back if you get a better look at them. He carefully put the cat on the floor. She looked around the room again and returned her questioning eyes to him. Seems like she got comfortable enough. He turned on the water in the shower and felt a gentle touch. The cat was already loitering around his feet. She was curious indeed. The shower isn't so bad as compared to the rain, is it? The joke came out a little awkward. He felt embarrassed and he didn't know why. She's just a cat. Maybe it was because of how the water glistened on her skin, or how she looked at him from under half-lowered lashes. She was actually watching. He met her eyes, and each time felt shame burn through him, but the shame was thick and sweet. He was a little dizzy. His hand slid over her smooth, wet skin, and each time he would ask himself, was it really necessary? He would feel her eyes on him, and his thoughts would melt, running down her thighs with the lather disappearing between her neat toes. The bathroom shimmered, molten bright, pulsating with light or darkness. He felt himself losing his balance, and pulled his hand away, but she returned and pressed it to the wet, hot skin covered in the soapy veil. She guided it. He couldn't remember how he'd ended up in the living room again. The cat was napping peacefully in his arms. He absently ran his hand down the cat's wet back, tracing the bumps of her spine with his fingers. I should get you food. Let me see what I have. He got up, not without a little difficulty. The body felt unusually heavy and unwieldy. He had to give the cat something to eat. He will lie down afterwards and then, hell, maybe even fall asleep. Maybe he should have gotten a cat from much earlier. A ball of fur with a pair of moon eyes and a velvety voice that you can always negotiate with. And that's about it. That's kind of funny. He could have avoided all that suffering if only he had a cat. The kitchen blurred before his eyes. He got to the refrigerator and opened it, squinting from the light and leaning on the door way harder than he was supposed to. If the landlady was around at this time, she would have told him exactly so. Don't lean on the door. After all, this is her house and her refrigerator, and everything should be neat and tidy in case she has to move new tenants in. Perhaps the landlady would have even warned him about the milk. The milk itself is completely harmless, unless, of course, you are allergic to lactose. But there is a special kind of lactose-free milk, right? What matters is the bottle. Bottles, much like cats, can vary greatly. But this particular one was made of glass. If only the landlady was here, she would probably have told him not to touch the bottle because he's falling on the floor and the bottle might break. And then the milk would spill and he would have nothing to feed the nice cat he found. Or rather, it was her who found him. And very timely because he was lying on the floor. He had been lying there for some time, and would have been lying still if he hadn't felt the light touch of something hot and rough on his cheek. It was almost like a dream, although, of course, comparing sleep with fainting is not very correct, no matter how you look at it. The floor beneath him was surprisingly hard, cold and wet. He felt all three qualities clearly and was afraid to imagine what would happen if he tried to move. But he had to move, one way or another. At least to see what's up, because something hot and rough was still sliding up on his cheek, gradually creeping up to his ear. He felt a warm breath, and then a cautious bite. Ouch! He jumped on the spot. The shadow rushed to the side, and then calmly began to lap milk from a puddle. The cat. What are you doing? The cat looked at him briefly and licked her lips.
No need to be this dramatic.
Oh, the cat actually talked this time.
You were lying around idly, and you're not even a cat, see? Besides, you're soaked in milk.
I guess I did spill the milk. Well, you're right. I let you down and had to get my punishment. I let myself down too. Good Lord, now there's cleaning to do. The next advent, like his mother would have said. I'll go get a rag. Stay here and don't break down the rest of the kitchen until I'm gone. The cat watched him go with a skeptical look.
Aren't you the one who's been causing all the trouble so far?
When he returned with the bucket, the cat was gone. Okay. Alright, something, the Theater of... What? Presents? How to bake... Kitchen looks different too. How to bake what? I didn't even see what it said. In the kitchen, something exciting is happening. What the? Take... You will need a blade. Okay. This is weird. Now we got sock puppets here. What's going on? Did you take the pills? Scratch out the entrails? The Egyptians widely used honey for embalming and preserving food. Later, their recipes were adopted by the Greeks. Okay, we're switching back and forth between stuff. Also add a teaspoon of apricot jam, a walnut, and a little cinnamon. Before baking, put a teaspoon of butter on top of... Yeah, there's something in the microwave. Microwave for 5 to 7 minutes at full power. Don't listen to the scream. Okay, don't listen to them scream. Oh, okay. Why has this one got blood on it? Bon appetit. It's getting a little crazy here. And this is the end. Thank you for playing. This is the end of the teaser. Please add Selene. I don't even know how to say that word. Selene Apoptosis to your wish list and share your thoughts with us in the discussions. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was the demo, like I said at the beginning. It ended when it was getting interesting. I think they did that on purpose. And then, yeah, it got interesting right at the end. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but now I do want to play more of it. It's like it started just getting kind of creepy there. Some weirdness is happening. You got me, game. Right. Well, that's it. Like I said, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.